The downside is that reason is based in logic, and logic requires assumptions based in experience. But when experiences vary, assumptions vary, bringing us to different truths logically, but they may be in conflict. Thus, truth appears to be relative. Furthermore, when truth is beyond our experience, it cannot be attained by reason, for we have no words to describe it. All this makes reason exceedingly flexible for us when we argue our position in the marketplace of ideas. To quote Shakespeare, "I have no exquisite reason, but I have reason enough." If we are persuasive, we can make our reasoned truth widely accepted. It is therefore the kind of truth favored by our revolutionaries and demagogues throughout history. Ironically, this is truth can become abusive power, which we wanted to speak to in the first place. Before speaking reasonable truth, we should remember G.K. Chesterton's observation. Reason itself is a matter of faith. It is an act of faith to assert that our thoughts have any relationship to reality. That leaves us with the truth of our senses, empirical truth. This is the truth that undergirds the sciences. Sciences have given us many truths, which we often call facts. Some have even stayed true over the test of time, while others have been set aside by new discoveries. The seekers of scientific truth will have much to do for many generations. We know much less about the world than we do know about it. For instance, most of the world's oceans are yet to be explored. The science of climate change is in its infancy. And we know more about the cosmos than we know about what's below our own feet, since we have barely penetrated the Earth's crust. But as great as having that knowledge will be, there are still great truths that will be forever beyond our five senses and the instruments we have created to enhance them. Truths such as, what are the ethical uses of this knowledge? The mystery of life. Science can neither create nor explain it. Clone, genetically engineer, facilitate it? Yes. Create it? No. Love will never come out of a test tube, any more than courage and compassion can be concocted in a petri dish. Okay, so those are our four fundamental ways of seeking or knowing truth. And all of them are flawed. So how do we use them to speak to power? They all allow us to strive for truth, but none get us there. In our postmodern age, many have thrown up their hands, saying there is no objective truth to strive for. I can't accept that, even if some would say I'm in denial. I can't accept not attaining it, but for me, what matters is the striving. If I ever come to believe I have attained truth, please put me somewhere I cannot harm others or myself, please. How do I strive for it? Certainly, I utilize the limited means I've described, but our gospel suggests to me how best to speak to power. When the Johannine community reflected on what was so special about Jesus, they described him in sacramental terms by having him declare himself the bread of life. Clearly a reference to the Last Supper we celebrate at communion. The American Book of Common Prayer, in its catechism, has a beautiful description of sacrament that is actually much older. It is an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual grace. That grace is, for me, ultimate truth. In his healing of the outcasts, feeding of the hungry, compassion for the poor, fearlessness in the face of oppressive authority, Jesus was an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual truth, that divine love is within, between, and beyond us. That grace is the truth for which I strive to live. To the degree I embody that love, I speak it. Now, to whom should I speak it? A poem I love by Edward Sills points out who the source of power we should speak to is. It's called The Fool's Prayer. The royal feast was done. The king sought some new sport to banish care, and to his jester cried, "Sir Fool, kneel now and make for us a prayer." The jester doffed his cap and bells and stood the mocking court before. They could see the bitter smile behind the painted grin he wore. He bowed his head and bent his knee upon the monarch's silken stool. His pleading voice arose, "O Lord, be merciful to me, a fool." No pity, Lord, could change the heart from red with wrong to white as wool. The rod must heal the sin, but Lord, be merciful to me, a fool. 'Tis not by guilt the onward sweep of truth and right, O Lord, we stay. 'Tis by our follies that so long we hold the earth from heaven away. These clumsy feet still in the mire go crushing blossoms without end. These hard, well-meaning hands we thrust among the heartstrings of a friend. The ill-timed truth we might have kept, the word we had not sense to say, who knows how grandly it had rung. Our faults no tenderness should ask, the chastening stripes must cleanse them all. But for our blunders, oh, in shame, before the eyes of heaven we fall. Earth bears no balsam for mistakes. Men crowned the knaves and scourged the tool that did his will. But thou, Lord, be merciful to me, a fool. The room was hushed. In silence rose the king and sought his gardens cool, and walked apart and murmured low, "Be merciful to me, a fool."